So have you ever scrolled down your Facebook feed and seen people embroidering on paper? Yes, I'm talking about those embroidered cards that you see all over Facebook, and you probably wonder, how in the world do you do something like that? Well, today you're going to find out exactly how in this tutorial. So embroidering on cards gives you a lot of variety because there's really so much you can do with it. In today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how to embroider a birthday card, but there are so many other occasions where you can embroider on cards like wedding invitations, thank you cards, baby showers, Christmas, you name it. So before we get started, I wanted to say, if you have any questions at all on the process, to leave a comment below and we'll get back to you with an answer. And I also wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. If you're new to our channel, welcome. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we jump in, let's quickly talk about what materials we're going to be using for this project. So first off, you are going to need your cardstock. Now you can find this at any fabric store or arts and crafts store like Joann's, Michael's. I got a pack of 50 multicolored ones from Joann's for under $3, so it's quite inexpensive. Next, we're going to talk about our design. Now I'm going to make this a birthday card, so this is just a quick test that I ran yesterday. This is actually embroidered on a piece of cardstock, which I then cut out and then put onto another piece of cardstock. But for this project, it's going to be different. I'm going to embroider it right on the front of the card so you guys can see it. But for the design, you want to get something that is digitized specifically for cardstock. It cannot have that many holes, otherwise it's going to tear the paper, which is why you're going to see a lot of card designs being kind of low on density. You also want to avoid any solid fills or any satin stitches, and you want to make sure that the stitch lengths are a little bit longer because you definitely want to decrease the amount of holes in the fabric, or in this case in the paper, because you don't want the design to actually just pop right out of your card. So now that we're on the topic of decreasing perforations, I also wanted to mention what type of needle you want to use. You're going to want to use a sharp point needle, either a 7511 sharp point or a 7010 sharp point. In my case, I am using a 7511 sharp point and it turned out fine. Now, you do want to make sure that you are using your sharp point needle and not your ball point, because with your ball point, you do run the risk of your paper shredding and tearing. All right, so now let's talk about what type of stabilizer to use. Now, a lot of you are probably going to want to use tearaway because it is more aesthetically pleasing, but regardless of what stabilizer you use, you're still going to have your stitches showing in the back of the card, so you're still going to have to cover it with something else, maybe another piece of cardstock. So I recommend using your cutaway stabilizer because it is the most stable and it's going to handle the most stitches. So if you want to get a nice big design on there, definitely use your cutaway stabilizer. And obviously we cannot hoop the piece of paper, so we're going to need to float it over the stabilizer. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's basically you're going to hoop your stabilizer. I'll show you in just a minute. You're just going to hoop your stabilizer and then you're going to use some temporary adhesive spray and put the paper right over. So I'll show you guys how it's done right now. Some other materials that we have here that I haven't mentioned yet, I have my ruler and my pencil to measure and mark my placement. Now, pencil is awesome on cardstock because it's erasable, so you can just make a light little mark so you can easily mark your placement. And that's optional, of course. And then I have my snips and I have my non-fabric scissors because we are going to be cutting on paper, so you don't want to ruin your fabric scissors by cutting on paper. All right, so I'm just going to go right into the hooping process, and it's going to be quite easy because we just have one sheet of medium weight cutaway stabilizer to hoop. And I'm using a larger hoop so that my paper can sit flat on it. As you can see, this can sit flat on it. All right, so I have my piece of cutaway stabilizer hooped, and now I'm going to take my piece of cardstock, and as you can see, I already have some marks that I placed in order to make some margins for myself. And of course, if you don't want to use the entire paper as the card, you can go ahead and cut it out, and that way you don't really have to mess around with placement. You can just make sure that the margins are correct when you cut it out. But in my case, I want to use the entire sheet of paper, so I already kind of placed my margins, and it's good that we're using paper. That's why I use the pencil, because you can easily erase it. So I have lined up the two. I made a mark right here in the center where the center of my paper is, because that is where I'm going to fold my card over. And I lined it up with the little guides on the hoop. Those are very helpful. And that's going to help everything center up. And last, I'm going to fold my paper over a little bit, but I'm not going to fold it all the way. I'm just going to fold it enough to be able to spray the temporary adhesive on one side. Because right now, we don't want the adhesive spray on the good side of the paper. So we're going to just fold it over and spray lightly on one side. So a lot of you have been asking to see more videos on the EM1010. So here it is. We're going to embroider this piece of cardstock on our EM1010. Now, before we get started, I did want to mention that you are going to want to lower the speed of your machine because this is such a delicate piece of material. I'm going to embroider it at 500 stitches per minute. Also, I didn't make any adjustments to my tension just yet, but if you are going to, or if you have to adjust your tension, I would recommend lowering your tension and not tightening it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and quickly trace just to make sure that my design lines up with my margins and appears to line up. And now I am ready to go ahead and press start. Here goes nothing. So here we have our finished embroidered product. Now there are some embellishments that we still need to make to this card, and this is the fun about it, that you can really do whatever you want with it. In the last one I put my initial in the middle. You can put stickers on it, you can even print something on the card and then embroider it. And then I also wanted to mention that you are going to need to cover the back. The back is going to show your stitches in your backing. So what you can do is just get another piece of cardstock and paste it over. You can even get a nice decorative sheet of paper with a nice message on it that you type on your computer and print it out. And that can be your printed portion. And then here you can have your handwritten portion of the card. So there's a lot that you can do with it. So there you have it. This is how to embroider cards. And if you do embroider cards, let us know what you guys embroidered. Alright, so there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below and to subscribe to our channel. And also don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, which I have linked below if you want to get emails with our content mailed directly to you. Last thing before we go, I want to invite you guys to our Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery. In there, you can chat with me and thousands of other embroiderers. You can share your knowledge, you can share your work, or you can ask any questions that you have about the industry. So go ahead and join the group and sign up for the newsletter. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.